You wanted the best. You've got the best podcast. The hottest podcast in the world. The Chris Voss Show, the preeminent podcast with guests so smart you may experience serious brain bleed. The CEOs, authors, thought leaders, visionaries, and motivators. Get ready. Strap yourself in. Keep your hands, arms, and legs inside the vehicle at all times, because you're about to go on a monster education roller coaster with your brain. Now, here's your host, Chris Voss.
Hi, folks. Voss here from the ChrisVossShow.com. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the big show. As always, the Chris Voss Show's family loves you, but doesn't judge you, at least not as harshly as the rest of your family, but refer your friends to the show. Go to goodreads.com/Chris Voss, LinkedIn.com/Chris Voss, Chris Voss One, the TikTokity, and all those crazy places, and maybe they'll appreciate you more. Opinions expressed by guests on the podcast are solely their own and do not necessarily reflect the opinions of the host or the Chris Voss Show. Some guests of the show may be advertising on the podcast, but it is not an endorsement or review of any kind. Today we have an amazing young man on the show. We're going to be talking to him about building your lists, why lists are important, and audience growth, pension, all that sort of good stuff. We're going to get into it and learn how to run our businesses better. We have Jason Donapel on the show with us today. He is a multifaceted entrepreneur and digital marketing expert with a wealth of experience in business growth, customer retention, and online marketing strategies. He's the founder of X, a company specializing in email and SMS personalization. He's generated over $110 million in revenue for numerous e-commerce and digital businesses by optimizing their customer journeys. His expertise spans various aspects of digital marketing with a particular focus on email, SMS marketing, and customer retention strategies. His journey went from corporate life to successful online business owner, offers valuable insights into personal growth and the challenges of entrepreneurship. He's known for his innovative approaches to business expansion and his ability to adapt to the ever-changing digital landscape. And boy, does it change a lot. Welcome to the show. How are you, Jason?
I'm doing great, Chris. Thank you so much, dude. I'm happy to be here.
Thank you. It's wonderful to have you as well. Give us your .coms, where we want people to find you on the interwebs.
So we have jasondonapel.com, and then we have the emailexperience.com.
The emailexperience.com. So give us a 30,000 overview, what you do over there, in your words.
So I think what we're realizing more and more in the modern age of digital marketing, if you will, the contemporary age of digital marketing maybe, is that it is very, very expensive to reach people in the traditional means of media buying, fighting over digital ad space on Meta, Google, and all that. We've been running email and SMS we're going on our 8th year. Wow. And the way that's really impacting our clients and brands today is that this ability to build an audience that you can speak to directly without having to worry about the algorithms, not having to really worry about, learning curves and learning phases, and really competing over that, the hiking cost of media out there. Mm-hmm. This is really where business owners are able to learn about their audience. They're able to really thrive, and the ROI is the highest.
And you kind of own, if you own your list, technically, some of these platforms, if you don't behave rightly, sometimes if you run like the ads the wrong way, you can get kicked off of Facebook. I've seen a lot of people lose their Facebook marketing accounts. And so with lists, you basically, that's technically yours, I guess, when it comes down to it. Is that correct?
Yeah, I really think of it as if you're making your money out there on even, Amazon, eBay, if that's your primary place, Etsy, if your primary way of communicating with your people is through TikTok or Facebook, even if they're in your Facebook group, or even if it's organic, right? Forget about the paid stuff. Yeah. You could even do that stuff all by the book and correctly. And then as soon as the algorithm updates in Q2, it happens, every quarter, it's coming at you. You could be wiped clean, right? It's just is what it is. These companies are out there to protect their users from bad players. And they're going to do whatever they think is worthwhile doing, right? So you can get caught up in that. And when you're talking to your audience in a place where you have control, right? They've opted in. It's an email, it's an SMS, it's WhatsApp, it's paid marketing, it's a print, send like a snail mail. Mm-hmm. Those are all kind of a lot more resilient, and they don't suffer from the same algorithm shifts and competition, right?
Mm-hmm. I just go out and knock on doors to everyone who listens to the show, and I do like a Saturday morning thing with the Mormons. We go out and knock on the door and talk. Hey, have you listened to the show this week? No, I'm just teasing them.
It's one of the highest conversion rate tactics there. Not easy to scale, but high conversion for sure.
Yeah, I mean, if they open the door, I mean, half the time they're like, "Who's this weirdo out front?" But you know, I mean, I've got
listeners by fear or love. You don't.
Yeah,
you don't
I've got
know.
a couple of them that have restraining orders on me, so I don't knock on their door. I keep 100 feet, but I can still yell at them from the road. Anyway, not the best scalable marketing, as it were. So email is still where it's at. Building a list, and I see this with a lot of companies now that I go to their website. You know, they're like, "Hey, join our email list so you can get email updates," and then they offer like an additional, sometimes they'll offer like a percentage off of stuff, and then they say, hey, you can get some added bonuses or whatever if you give us your SMS as well. And so, yeah, you know, there's I see they're pretty active nowadays, a lot of these websites, in getting both pieces of data from us. Why is it important to get both SMS and email?
It's a really good question. Honestly, what you want is the more channel diversification you have to reach somebody, the more valuable they are. We've tested this a lot, actually, where we've run just really three-way splits of the same exact campaigns, the same exact messages going to three different groups. One group would be email only, one would be SMS only, and the third would be email plus SMS. And that third group won every single time, to the point we just stopped testing it. We just kind of took it in as, oh, this is the best practice. And it's kind of what you go for. When you're thinking about what list you want to grow for your business, it's really important to think about what is that ascension plan? How is a customer successful with you? If you're an e-commerce store selling online, you'll have one set of interactions, and maybe email is a better way to go, because you can get more information in an email, and it's not as fast acting as SMS, but it serves its own purpose. If we work with like a gym, something like that, that's very on demand, fast, check in, check out, updates in real time. And all of a sudden SMS becomes maybe even more valuable than email, just because of the types of interactions you ultimately want to have with your audience. So when we're thinking about audience growth and list growth, it's really worthwhile to be intentional with all those decisions and think to yourself, am I going to collect email the first time I interact with the user, and then try to get SMS in another opportunity, maybe in a welcome series or down the journey a little bit, or do we go heavy with SMS because we know that's the highest ROI channel for us? And it's really, you get to make all these decisions within these channels.
Yeah. It's kind of interesting. And yeah, SMS, I have a few of my vendors or clients, people that I'm a client for, that I buy from, that, like my testosterone clinic, they remind me every day on us, or not every day, but every week on SMS. They're like, hey, it's your appointment on Friday. You got to go in and, I got to go in and get my shot today. And so that's very helpful, but it's still marketing, they're still like, hey, don't forget, you like paying us your money.
Yeah.
And you like muscles. Come get your testosterone. But yeah, I've got a few different vendors that are on that, and sometimes I get additional discounts, I think, from it and stuff. But yeah, it's an immediate way, because you get a text message, you're going to check it. You're going to be like, hey, is this from a friend of mine, or whomever, and it's much more personal. Where sometimes if you send me some on email, it may take me a day to get through the 100 or 200 emails we get every day.
Yeah, I think it's really important to know which channel you're using and how it's going to impact. I think that what I love SMS for a lot is the two-way nature of it and sort of data collection from it. So being able to ask the audience what they're looking for, how you can help them. I'm less and less. I'm trying to remove these incentive and discounts for signing up, and I really am finding more success in curating, just helping the user get through. If somebody's buying testosterone, that can be a buying journey with a lot of obstacles and a lot of pitfalls. And they're buying it for different reasons, and everybody has their own problem that they're trying to solve. They have different levels of how comfortable they are even buying the product, right? Because there's people can feel however they feel. And these being able to collect somebody's SMS, and saying we're going to collect because we want to find the best supplement for you, or the best testosterone plan, or the best service level for you. And then the conversation really being around, what goals do you have? What are you experiencing? Why are you here? Somebody who's looking to get ripped versus somebody who's looking for an energy boost versus somebody who's, maybe 70 and looking for just a different kind of boost. Like, these are all different customers. And try to put yourself in a place where you're buying ads and sending, and reaching these people individually with an ad. It's not going to happen. Once you get them on your email and your SMS, then you could do that personalization. And that really, really matters. And I think the coolest part of it, Chris, what we see is that once we start, we started doing it because, higher ROI, better value messages. What we learned accidentally is that you actually start learning from the users just inadvertently from the nature of how the program is set up. Because if you're now sending 3 welcome series instead of 1, and you're sending it to 3 different types of testosterone customers, A, B, and C, maybe we'll say, muscles, energy, virility, whatever. Is that the word? Virility? That's what.
I think so, yeah.
The last one. What we're going to learn automatically is how are these groups interacting with our messages? Like when they're not split out, you have no insight into that, and you can see that. Oh, look, the muscle group is worth 55 cents every time we send an email, versus the virility group who's only worth 10 cents. Now you're buying ads differently. You want more muscle groups. You know who's more profitable down, and you know which customers, which messages are resonating, better with your user base. And that was the accidental kind of, holy cow moment where it's like, now we can impact and really impact the marketing, the bigger marketing plan for a company.
Yeah, and you don't have to be worried about getting kicked off Facebook. You have your list, and off you go. So talk to us about your journey. How did you get into being an entrepreneur, start your first company? I was seeing here that you've grown your business from 0 to $250,000 a month, and as a co-founder, you built an agency to $200K a month. That's pretty awesome. Tell us about your journey and how you got into being an entrepreneur and into this field.
So I started e-commerce in the suburbs of Philadelphia, PA, the hotbed of e-com activity. Go Birds. And there was this guy out there, his name is Craig. We became, obviously we're really great friends now, but at the time he started an e-com business back in 93, 94. So he was way ahead. He was way just like selling on eBay basically. Wow. And then Yahoo Small Business, and he just kept at it. So when I met him, I got a job at the warehouse, packing. We were selling blood pressure monitors, heart rate machine, kind of electronic fitness. You think like Fitbits stuff now, kind of like pedometers, the original version of the Fitbit, the cheaper version. Yeah. And so I was at that company for about 10 years, and from the warehouse ended up leaving as CMO by the time I was, kind of ready to move on. And out of everything I learned along the way, email just stuck with me as the least creepy channel. It made me feel like I didn't really grow up with a good view of marketers. I didn't really have a good sense of what they were. Like I was a big Bill Hicks. I loved Bill Hicks, and he was not big on marketers in general. Yeah. So email felt fine to me though. It felt like you told me you wanted to hear from me, and now I'm able to get in touch with you, and then you can opt out whenever you want to, and it's over. And it felt like this two-way sort of a better way to market. So that's what I wanted to do more of. While I was still CMO, I opened a gig on Fiverr just to try to do more email work. Oh, wow. I think I was the only profile with Klaviyo specifically listed in my profile as, I'll build your Klaviyo email flows instead of just email marketing. And then I charged like $500, like 5x more than what I saw everybody else charging. And I just figured, we'll see what happens. Ended up meeting my eventual business partner, Dave Miz. He hired me from that exact gig. And he is the sales arm, and I'm kind of still the back end, strategy implementation guy. And that was about 8 years ago. So we've been chugging along. There was a second CMO partnership thrown in the middle of while the agency was growing. And it's just been, it's been a real whirlwind.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. What was it like starting your first company and being an entrepreneur? Was it scary? Was it challenging?
I think there was a lot of imposter syndrome. There was a lot of like, do I belong here? Am I in the right place? Am I doing the right thing? By the time I left my full-time job, I was making like way more on the side than I was full, like at the full-time gig. So leaving the gig wasn't that hard to do. It didn't feel like I did them both for like 2 years simultaneously. So it was a lot, a very slow on ramp, I guess you would say. But yeah, you're that first day, there's no boss anymore, and you're the one who has to set the deadlines and make it happen. It can be daunting.
It's quite the challenge to start your business, especially when it's your first time, but you're doing a hell of a job. A lot of people sometimes go through a couple failures before they get there. And so is Klaviyo still popular with you guys for utilizing for your lists and things like that nature? I've been familiar with them before.
Yeah, Klaviyo is still doing well. We're using a tool called Attentive a lot now. Their SMS capability is really, in terms of what I do, which is all about personalization, data collection, learning more about the users, learning what's important about the users too, because there's a lot of just data overload, a lot of unimportant data that people, so, and Attentive, I find it's one that really helps me get exactly what I need to do. And they have a really strong email program now too.
Oh, really?
We use them both.
There you go. And so it sounds like you really help build a journey that people go on where you help kind of identify or find out more about the customer and then put them in different buckets, if you will, or different segments, and then try and delve them out and market them and find what works correctly.
Yeah, I think that every business owner, everybody with an audience has some sense or some belief of who is on the other side of, of the podcast or of whatever. So if we were like taking your audience, for example, there would be a lot of ways to look at the digital properties you have and say, all right, people are funneling into these places, your website, maybe your website's the strongest one. Mm-hmm. And you're saying people are funneling in here because they're interested in me for some reason. And I want to know why. You can assume whatever you assume, but until they tell you, you don't really know. Mm-hmm. And the way you can start to do it is literally by what pages they're interacting with. You can launch different capture methods on different pages. So if somebody's interacting with a lot of podcasts from CEOs or kind of like from zero to a million type stories, mm-hmm. This kind of person's into that content. If somebody's more into like your techie guests, then this is kind of a techie person. And you could actually launch, instead of just saying, hey, join my list for 10% off, you could say, do you want to, get access to all the best techie podcast episodes, blah, 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 blah. Here, join here. And now you've kind of sidestepped that whole cheapening whatever you're offering by instead saying, here's, this is exactly what you're looking for. You're in the right place. Come this way. And what happens is when you launch those, so when you're allowing your audience to opt in a way like that, and you've put intention behind the opt-in, and you're thinking to yourself, okay, this is the person who's into CEO stories versus somebody who's into the tech side versus somebody who's into like process. All of a sudden, you have 3 different lists that you just didn't have before, and right away you're personalizing. And the insights you gain from that, one of my favorite examples is from the second CMO company I was in, and we were a sewing company, and we sold sewing goods to sewing audience. That's what we did. And we hired somebody to do live sewing shows and build sewing groups and the whole thing.
Oh, wow.
And it was successful. It actually turned a dropship product into a full-fledged, one of the rare kind of pulling a dropship into an actual branded experience. And once we got the capability to send SMS and we launched the 2-way message, we asked a simple question to our new subscribers. We were still doing the discount at the time, so here's 10% for signing up. Mm-hmm. And then the message was basically, hey, here's your coupon. What are you here for? Reply 1 for sewing, 2 for quilting, 3 for both. And we were just testing out a theory. Honestly, we were just testing out 2-way message to see what it was and what it did and how it worked. We didn't really know what we were messing with. And then we saw that 796 people said sewing, 1186 said quilting, and then 1600 said both. And we realized that we had been talking to our audience wrong the entire time simply because we had made this assumption about who they were. And it was a pretty good assumption. The entire catalog was sewing. Like, it wasn't like we had taken a big leap here. Mm-hmm. But this happens a lot in companies where you think you're selling, something to a group, and it turns out you're selling to quilters who have to go to sewing stores because that's who happens to sell the things that they need, right?
Yeah.
We changed that welcome series to say, if you responded quilting, instead of getting the same message that everybody else got, you got a message that basically said, oh, great, we have perfect tools for quilting. And then we were able to send you to the same exact collection page, call it quilting, same SKUs, same catalog. The product titles are, now have quilting in them. And all of a sudden, the click rate's up in 35% for the welcome, and the conversion is just, in double digits. And it's because we're not tricking people into where we think they should go. We're finding out what they need, and then we're just, we can deliver that. And then it just happens. Get out of the way. Marketing should be just getting out of the way these days, really.
Yeah, I mean, I was planning yesterday on Facebook about how a lot of websites that we look at, like the forms don't work. A lot of the contact forms don't work. No one's ever checked it, I guess, to see if they actually fulfill or if they 404 or whatever. And sometimes people have, they'll have 15 questions they require you to answer. In fact, one was kind of weird that I saw a week or so ago where it was asking for my birth date. And I was like, I don't know you from Adam, man. I'm just trying to find out more about your business, what you do. I'm not giving you some of these details. Some of these are, some of this is stuff that is secret questions you use to access your websites for a two-factor identification and stuff. I'm just like, no. Like one was like, where were you born? I'm like, I'm not giving you that information. And they were valid companies. I'm not, getting on hacker sites like an idiot, but I was just like, the barriers that they were making to people. One of my other things that I hate is I'll bump into coaches that they don't have a way just to send them an email to contact them. They want you to do a Calendly thing, where you sign up to go talk to them for 15 minutes. And sometimes you're just like, hey, I just want to quickly know, something like, I'm on a lot of coffee websites because I just got an espresso about a month or two ago. So I'm cruising a lot of coffee sites and buying coffee and then buying espresso. It's like a whole money pit of if you've ever done espresso. It's like, I don't know, buying, it's like buying a car or a house that you're going to just fix up, and it's just a money pit. So I've been spending a lot of time on it. Sometimes you just have a question like, hey, is that a light roast or a dark roast? Or, hey, when do you roast this or something? Just simple things. It's like, I don't want to have an appointment with you 2 weeks from now and have to have a half an hour conversation with you about this. This is a 5-second yes or no, get me on or off. There's there's like certain questions that if I ask it and you're like, yeah, we don't do that. Okay, we don't need to have a fucking call. Yeah. And it's just amazing to me how many different barriers people can put in front of you. And a lot of times I just like, fucking, I'm not even bothering answering all these stupid ass questions. You can do whatever you want. There's nothing worse than when you're trying to communicate with somebody and it keeps coming up. You haven't put the required thing in. Like one of my favorites is my phone number. So there's like some that if you don't put that +1 US part on the phone number, like it won't go through. Like some of it's like stupid. It's like, you don't need my phone number anyway. I'm just trying to find out if you have dark or light roast coffee.
It reminds me of that Mitch Hedberg joke when I walked into a donut shop and bought a donut and they offered me a receipt. You do not need to bring ink and paper into this transaction.
Yeah, it's I got enough I got to throw away.
It really is. I mean, that's an example of a hacker site would never do it to you because they're not stupid enough. Like, they know you're not filling it out. They would just try to find it. They're actually really good at getting what they want from you, right? Because hackers care more about user experience than big corporations, it turns out, right? But yeah, I think what you're seeing is that all you have is marketers thinking about, oh man, once we learn this, this, and this, then I can send them this on his birthday, and they're completely forgetting that you have to serve the user that's in front of you first, right? You can't do anything until you have an opt-in and build some sort of rapport. And on the third or fourth message, you probably could create a scenario where that birthday comes over at 20 to 25% conversion rate just because you've warmed it up and you've set up the scenario. If somebody places an order with you, one of the things that I've done in the past that works really well, a tactic actually, and I don't really do tactic. I like strategy more than tactic, but a tactic that I've done before for like jewelry websites and websites that are heavy on gift giving, gift buyers, things like that, I'll ask them in the pop-up, I'll say, are you buying this for yourself or for a gift? And you can put a little drop down, just, some sort of way to get that information.
Oh yeah.
And if they select they're buying for a gift, I'll offer them like you'll have to brand it up, but some sort of like easy button for the year gift buying guide. So if it's for Valentine's Day and then this guy's buying it for his wife, then you ask, okay, give me her birthday, give me your anniversary, and we'll hit you up right before, so it'll be easy for you to click and buy. And what you have to do is create these scenarios where I'm asking you for a birth date or a piece of information, and without that context, you're like, what the fuck? No, there's no way I'm giving this to you. Are you crazy? But if I'm here on your website looking to buy a gift for my wife, and now you're telling me, oh, you'll just hit me up a week before her birthday or when I have to shop in time to get it for her next. Okay, I can lean into that. Yeah. And you have your marketing data, and I have what I need to move forward as a customer and confidence. So it's like what you described is just laziness. It's just not thinking through, right? It's just, we're going to put a form up and do it or don't.
And I know they're sitting around somewhere in a boardroom going, we need more sales. We need more responses from customers. What are we doing wrong here? Let's have more meetings about that. And it's like, you got to earn the business. You've got to, build that relationship. I think you mentioned that earlier, or something to that effect. I mean, you've got to earn their business, and yeah, sometimes it's like trying to go for third or fourth base on the first date. You've got hey, at least take me to dinner there, brand, company, whatever. Let's hold hands first a little bit and see if this that feels good, and build some trust. But yeah, it's really amazing to me, and I know there's some people that their website, they have no idea that form function isn't working, that passes the data through, and it's just 404ing when people send messages, and you're just like, they're probably sitting around going, I guess no one wants to talk to us. Does anyone check that mail button and see if it works?
I'm sure everything is perfect.
Yeah, I mean, we paid a guy $5,000 for the website in 1982. Anyway, whatever. I don't think that date works, but just run with the people. What are some other what are some other strategies that you find you can maybe tease out a little bit that increase revenue from email or SMS marketing?
So when we're thinking about how to increase revenues, I think that revenues just increase when you start doing things correctly. So the metrics that I'm tracking, and I think that any business owner, you really need to simplify the thing for because you can't go in there and look at a growth report from one of these programs and try to, you have half an hour in a day maybe to dedicate to an email SMS. If you're running a business, you get lost in these numbers and it's over. You're done before you even begin. So what we have to do is simplify it down so you can kind of glance and decide, okay, what's the next step and where do I go? So what I track is the number of messages I'm sending every month from every channel that we're working. So that, Messenger, WhatsApp, SMS, email, it doesn't really matter because we need to see more messages from your brand. We need to increase your scope of influence. We have to get your voice out there. And not to mention, sending these messages is the highest ROI action that a brand owner can take. It just is what it is. You're getting $45 for every dollar you spend in email. You might get 20 or 23 for every dollar you spend in SMS. And as Messenger's coming up, it's gonna pop again. It's gonna be another $40 per dollar channel. It's gonna, it's coming back. So if you can get yourself in there to get the messages sent, it's well worth your time. The problem is that it's not spending money every day. So it's not this fire that business owners feel like they have to jump on. So it doesn't get, the attention. So one of my main focuses is more messages sent. There's a lot of ways to get that done, but at the highest level, I want to see that. If somebody's not doing well, I'm looking at that first. How many messages are you sending month over month? Are we trending up or down, and why? The second one is value per message sent. So every time a message is delivered, if I send out 100,000 emails, how much was each one? Did I get 2 cents for everyone that was delivered? Did I get 5? Did I get 4? What is it worth for me to hit that send button? And then deploying a lot of strategies and approaches to raise those metrics at the same time. That's where we see, right? That's where we see that these programs really take off and drive 30-40% of like total revenue from a business. And that's where you should be to be resilient when the ebbs and flows of media buying come. You really want to be heavily invested in your retention.
Yeah. Plus, I mean, you basically just pay the SMS service hosting fee or whatever, like we have Aweber. And so the same thing with the email. But other than that, you're not paying what you would pay from Facebook ads or Twitter. You pay pretty horrendous amount of money for all that.
And it's predictable. You know what you're going to get when you spend. You know what your SMS bill is going to be next month. And you know that if you grow your list by 20%, it'll be higher, but the ROI will follow. And you can model these out and spend with confidence. Facebook, I mean, I don't know. Maybe you know better Facebook marketers than I do, but the ones that I know, $500 from one month to the next, they're not in charge of what that brings back to you. They're largely just hoping Facebook, Zuckerberg takes care of it for you.
Yeah, and you can blow a lot of money and have a campaign fail. And you're just like, that was fun. That didn't work. But you're right. The people on your list, they've opted in. They're loyal, I guess, to a certain degree because they're still on your list. And so you help these clients do this. Now, is for you guys and working with you guys, how can people onboard with you? Is there a minimum spend or value they need to have? I see on X here something about a DTC brand with the $25K a month in spend or something like that.
Yeah. So, I mean, typically to work with the agency, you're going to want to have a list of 20,000 plus
Okay.
And then if you're driving in like the 80K of range monthly in top line revenue, that's probably enough. That's probably enough momentum to gather data and take big jumps. Outside of that, there's like consulting options where you can get some advice to help you get to that point. It's still a nice positive ROI, because that's the thing. It has to be high ROI or what's the point? We have to make sure that we're generating revenue as we go, and so we have the two different paths.
And so they can work with you directly for that? Is that how that works, or does everything go through the agency?
The consulting stuff. So the consulting stuff I do, and then all the white glove done for you is through the agency, because you do not want me designing your emails. Trust me.
So they can either reach out to you directly through the website and stuff, or they can do the email experience.com and see how that goes. And then you've got some examples that are up there on the website of some of the success you brought to different brands, money you've made for them, and revenues, case studies, et cetera, et cetera.
Yep. Yeah, that's a good place to go. I think on my website, there's a whole blog or space where I just write. I just like, when I'm not buried under agency work, I'll get in there and just post really long form articles on, how to approach your incentive to opt in, or, how to approach the most valuable message in your entire retention program. I'm really just trying to, if you go to the website, you're just going to learn a lot about email and SMS, man, and about audience growth, because it's almost more important just to impact the space than it is to try to get individuals, right? I think what we have right now is a bunch of people in positions that came up on these digital marketing courses, and we're seeing a lot of funnel builders that are just doing the one message, one size fits all. Everybody gets the same approach, and I'm really looking to undo that this year and just create a better experience for end users and for business owners. It's a shift that has to happen in the space. Email is kind of ready for the next thing.
And the one thing you talk about is how to improve your cart abandonment. People that they fill their cart and then they wander off, which is easy to do in today's world of distractions and then people like me who have ADHD. In fact, I kind of have a bad habit I've developed. Are you familiar with the Shop app?
Shop app, yeah.
Yeah, so I use that for a lot of buying because it'll track, the shipment and stuff. And then it'll also handle like logins now, which is kind of crazy. And one of the things I'll do is I'll go through and find stuff that I want to buy. Like I try and order coffees like once a week, so that there's one of the things about espresso is the beans have to be roasted fresh, but then they need sometimes up to a week or two delay to CO2 air out, their whatever's, and depend upon it's light, dark, or medium roast, can depend upon when it does. So I have this constant stream of, I have to make sure we always have coffee coming in and coffee on board, and you never run out of coffee because otherwise people die if I don't get coffee. I'm the bear in the morning. There's even a sign on my espresso machine that says, no talkie, no coffee, no talkie. Don't, just stay away from the man until he's had some coffees in him. But so a lot of times I want to order something, but I'm like, I'm going to get to that later. And I'm actually using, it's kind of stupid, but it might give you some insight. But I've actually kind of learned that if I put stuff in the cart, Shop app will remind me that, hey, remember you still got that cart with the coffee in it that you were ordering last week and stuff. And I'm like, oh yeah, I need to order that this week. And so I actually kind of do that. Or I'll plan spending for some, espresso items or some crap, whatever I'm buying. And I'll fill the cart and I'll leave it on purpose.
Yeah. Yep.
And then I'll get messages and I'll be like, hey, this is your cart's, hey, did you abandon your cart? Did you want to buy this shit? And I'm like, oh yeah, we're going to move forward with that now and spend that money. It's kind of
it's like you made a little personal assistant out of them.
Oh yeah. That's why a reminder, a tickler file. Because otherwise I'm like, what was that shit I was going to buy? I was going to buy that special espresso, and which one was it? And am I the only one doing that, or
no? You have to talk yourself into it. Like that's like window shopping, right? That's what window shopping is these days. And I think it's so funny. Like for you, it's espresso. I just started getting into like tabletop gaming with my daughter, the little figurines and stuff.
Oh yeah. And
I'm like 2 weeks in, and I'm like here looking at 3D printers. I'm like, what happened? Like how how am I here? And it's just amazing how every hobby you can just get into it. And that's what you do. You fill up your cart with $900 worth of paint, and then you look at it and you go, I don't know, man. Let's see what it looks like tomorrow, and then we'll think about it. And as a marketer myself, I just abandon carts on purpose because I just want to see if you got a discount waiting for me. I just want to see what your game is like.
I played that game too. I'm like, I'm going to fill this cart, and there's a couple companies that I buy stuff from. I think it's nakednutrition.com is one of my favorites. I buy a lot of stuff from them because they have really clean protein. It only has a few ingredients in it. That's why they call it naked, is because it's not like protein and supplements that are filled with 50,000, chemicals that you can't describe. It's very clean. Some of the products like protein, it just has milk whey in it. That's it. There's no sucralose or aspartame or some crap that they put in it for sugar nowadays. And I've kind of found that if I leave the cart sitting for a day or two, that they'll start offering me like, hey, if you buy that stuff that you got in your cart, we'll give you an extra 10% or something. I'm like, ching.
Yeah. So you find because something that I've been doing to combat that is first-time buyers, I will put a discount in the abandoned cart, but then repeat buyers they'll get abandoned carts, but there's no discount in them anymore.
Oh.
So would you bail on that as a repeat buyer? Would you?
No, I eventually buy. So I've played that game with a couple places, and sometimes there was kind of a weird thing going on over Christmas and Black Friday and Cyber Monday and stuff where it was kind of like those last 2 months of last year. They were doing all sorts of crazy stuff with the carts and offering discounts. Like, hey, you're sitting on that, and I've kind of found it's backed off a little bit. That was the big sales push. That's when a lot of people make their money. So I've found it's not been quite as profitable to play that game with them. And I'm a loyal customer anyway, so I'm going to buy their shit. I'm like, okay, I'm going to run out of their protein in a week, so let's kind of set it up on the cart and see. And sometimes I've even gotten discounts from Amazon that way, where they're like, hey, this is on sale. It's like 10% off. I'm like, oh, cool. It's in my cart. I wonder if my cart triggered that. So I'm playing games with it. I sound like some chick who goes to Target every day, don't I?
Hey, we're all doing it, right? We have our, like, what else? You're you're setting it up on your phone because you want. I just did it yesterday. I set up a bunch of rugs in a cart because I'm moving to a new office space, and I thought, all right, let me see what these rugs look like in my cart. Yeah. And then I woke up this morning and I was like, oh, I guess I can order them now because I slept. And now I can buy the rugs. The psychology of making a purchase is personal to everybody. Sometimes you have to just be there at the right place at the right time with your message. You just have to know. We were working with a hangover cure brand, like one of these brands that, you take this when you wake up after a night of drinking and it will clear out your hangover. And we found that sending them messages at 2, 3 in the morning just crushed because you just place the right time and you just want to be there, right? They're getting in the Uber, they're on the way home, and all of a sudden they're thinking, oh yeah, actually that this is going to suck. Or like Sunday morning, 7:30s, 8 a.m. when people are like maybe just if you get them at that, I always picture that if you just get them at that moment when they open their eyes and they're like, oh no, hungover, and then they see your ad. And that's what it is. Be in the right place at the right time. When is somebody dying for espresso? Deliver the message then.
They should just put the ad on the back of vodka bottles. That's really it. But anyway, right. I remember those days of drinking and hangovers. Do not miss them at all. But I'm one of those people where the gals I date are like, he's probably on Instagram looking at girls. If I get a hold of his phone, the whole thing's going to be videos of Instagram girls or OnlyFans or something, and they get my phone and they're like, it's all espresso machine. It's
AeroPress.
It's all AeroPress, and I got all the videos of the funnel coming, the coffee coming through the thing, and
the slow motion.
Crema, the crema and stuff. Like I basically have espresso porn on my phone, I guess, when it comes down to it. And
there's a subreddit for that, probably.
There probably is. There probably is an OnlyFans for it too. But anyway, I like one of the things that the espresso has is there's for example, there's something called a portafilter, and it's the handle people use to put the coffee in the basket and do the thing. There's a million different competitors and variations, and so sometimes what I was doing, as I would go through and it'd be like, well, I saw that one portafilter and I like it. Let me cart that. And then Shop App's going to send me notices, and they're going to send me notices through the email. But let me go check some other vendors. and I kind of use it to hone what I was going to buy. And then, of course, that tickler file where I'm using it as a task list to remind me, because a couple of them, I'm like, God, I looked at a bunch of them and I didn't mark any of them. So now I'm screwed. I'm like trying to go back and, which one was the one I liked? So I've been using it as a
YouTube, and you get lost into YouTube, the 100 best handles. You're there for 4 hours.
Yeah. I've done that with Espresso, yeah. I'm a gadget dude. Anything I get into, I got to buy the toys, and it's just stupid. I got into tea, and I had to buy all the matcha toys and the whisk and the bowl and the stupid, it's just...
That's what we're writing messages for you. I mean, we got to keep the economy moving. I'm the same, If you get into something, you should lean into it and pay attention to what they're sending you. And you get offended when they send you a crappy message. That's another thing. As consumers, we should get pissed off when we get shitty messages sent to our phone. You're giving a company or a brand access to your phone.
Yeah.
That's insane. That's
very
an insane
personal
level of closeness. And then for them to send you something crappy and low effort, it's insulting. And I think that consumers, I would really love to see more pissed off people on the other end.
That or, they could send me some stuff on Snapchat if they want, some of those disappearing pictures. Here's your protein on a hot chick or something. I don't know what that means.
Or on top of an espresso machine.
On top of espresso machine. I think I just came up with my OnlyFans channel I'm working on. Hot chicks on espresso machines. I mean, how does it get better than that? You got two of the best worlds there.
It used to be motorcycles, right? Now we're all... That's how.
I'm old now. Like all the young gamers that hang out with me, they're just like, "How much espresso? You drink coffee? Ugh, that's old." And I'm like, "You just wait till you get my age." I used to think it was gross when my grandparents drank the crap, but now it's what it is. So as we go out, give people final pitches on how they can onboard with you, how they can reach out to you, how they can learn more, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, look, I think that going to jasondonapel.com is a good place to go and just learn about a different way to talk to your audience, and honestly, a different way to approach email and SMS marketing. Whether you do it with me or not isn't super important. I think what's really more valuable is that you understand that if right now you have automations set up within your email, SMS, whatever, and they're just delivering the same thing over and over again to everybody who works through your customer ascension plan, you're really doing a disservice to yourself and them. Mm-hmm. And it's not going to serve you in the long term, right? So I really encourage everybody to take a fresh look at their approach, think about the audience on the other side and what they're getting out of it, what's in it for them, and launch something new in the next week and just see the impact you'll have. I think you'll be surprised at the benefits you'll get from it.
You go, and people can follow your blog and your writing and some of the different things by getting on your email list as well.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yep. I have an email list. I'm there. You can, LinkedIn, doing the whole thing.
Yeah. I forget the stats, but the stats on it are really good, that just email and SMS is like miles better than, any other marketing that's out there, really, when it comes down to it, building your list and et cetera, et cetera.
Yep. When it comes down to ROI, it's the best place you can spend your dollars, man. You can't beat it.
Well, I got to build my list some more so I can buy some more espresso crap.
Yep. Get on it.
Well, Jason, thank you very much for coming on the show. We really appreciate your insights and your story, your journey as an entrepreneur. Thank you very much for coming on.
Dude, thank you for having me, Chris. It was great. I really appreciate the time.
Thank you. And thanks, audience, for tuning in. Go to goodreads.com/Chris Voss, LinkedIn.com/Chris Voss, Chris Voss One, the TikTokity, and all those crazy places on the internet. Be good to each other. Stay safe. We'll see you next time. And that's